Hello and welcome to the 16th episode of Tailoring in Conversation. In this series, I'll be talking to tailors from all around the globe to gain a better insight into their worlds. My guest for today is Donghyun Kim. Donghyun is a cutter and former tailor of Cadna Dandy in London Savile Row. He recently moved back to South Korea to start his own company called Tranquil House, where he pursues soft tailoring through the Rock of Eye method. Let's get started. Thank you for making the time, and
So,
I've been looking forward to speak to you, and I think we have a few interesting topics to discuss. So I'll just start by
yeah,
saying welcome and how are you?
I'm good. I've just made my uh, collar padded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and now it's ready to talk with you about tailoring. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Dongyun, I have a question. I asked this to everybody. Um, what type of a child were you when you were 10 years old?
Okay. Actually, mm, I think my personality is half and half. Some part of me is outgoing, and some part of me is an ingoing, a kind of ingoing child. So I I think I used to enjoy hanging around my uh, friends and classmates, but at the same times I always uh, stayed alone in my small room and just thinking and sometimes dreaming about unrealistic things. Yeah, but
What kind
and
of things?
I also used to read many books because
Mhm.
my dad was poet, but he just worked at office at the same time. So
Mhm.
yeah, I was that kind of child.
When you say
Yeah,
you were thinking of unrealistic things, what kind of things were you thinking about?
because it's bit uh it's kind of full. So maybe uh when word just ends. So tomorrow words if tomorrow words finish, how can I deal with this? And yeah,
Mhm.
that kind of things.
Interesting. For those who don't know you, you have spent some time in London as a
Yeah,
tailor, and now you're back in South Korea and you're working on your own company called Tranquil House. Um,
yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about your experience in London first, and then bring
hmm
us to South Korea and how things are going in South Korea at the moment?
Okay, I think I have to start about the story about 6.5 years ago. So uh, when I was 23, I mean, after I just done the military service in South Korea, because all
Mhm.
other South Korean have to is a compulsory. So
Mhm.
after the military service, I just uh, mm, I did kind of apprenticeship, but not like sewing or drafting pattern things. It's all about errands and other just making tea or coffee and just
Mhm.
mopping the floor. And I was so tired about that things, but uh, they didn't give the money and they don't teach me some skills. So that's why I decided to go to London and uh, studying bespoke tailoring. So I just searched the internet. So I found one London Culture Fashion
Mhm.
has a major called bespoke tailoring. Oh, that's it. So uh, I want to go there and learn the hometown and original bespoke tailoring. So
Mhm.
so 6.5 years ago, I enrolled London Culture Fashion and learned
Mhm.
bespoke tailoring. So, and after 3 years, I mean, after graduation, I could join the CAD and Dandy and did my
Mhm.
apprenticeship and just maker's life for 3.5 years. And then I think due to the COVID situation and visa problem, I had to come back to South Korea this February, and then I'm preparing my brand. And 2 weeks ago, I just launched my own brand, the name Tron Hill House. Yeah,
That sounds very exciting.
about English, English bespoke garments. Yeah.
A question I have is where did your interest for bespoke tailoring come from in the first place?
I mean the company. I mean the style.
No, just in general. So when you thought I want to be a tailor,
Ah, in
where
general.
did that come from?
Actually, so after uh, I graduate the high school, the people should people have to choose uh, the work or study more. So I I so when I was 20, I kind of fashion enthusiast person. So I enrolled clothing and textile design university in Korea. But I felt kind of I'm very interested in history and culture, but that but curriculum of Korean university is focused on women's wear and textile and draping something. So I want to learn something about different one. So more like so I want to study and make some kind clothes that includes heritage and culture and story. That was the bespoke tailoring. So back then I couldn't find a decent or original course of bespoke tailoring, so that's why I decided to go London.
How do you
Yeah.
see tailoring fit within culture? How would you describe the relationship between tailoring and culture for you?
Yeah, that's very actually, for example, the suit, I mean the English suit I learned has come from military custom. So and many other English bespoke garments mm, include equestrian culture and military and that kind of things. So like this functional button. So when I just make and find functional button, why should I put some? Why should I put the inlay and make a button on the cuff? So I think that point I really interested. I really interested to find it. Yeah, each part. So why lapel padded and why the uh why suit has a flower hole and yeah, that kind of things. Yeah.
Interesting.
I,
Okay,
I really
so
find out like at the same time. Yeah.
yes, I understand. When you, how long before you moved to London? How long did you were born in South Korea, correct?
Yeah.
In general, this is maybe a little bit off topic here, but in general, when you compared the work culture in South Korea to the work culture in London, what are sort of the main, very visible things that you noticed? Maybe differences or commonalities. How would you describe both if you had to describe it to someone who's like me, ignorant about that?
Okay. I think in Korea, there are such a popular occupation occupations the students wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think tailor is not tailor or other craftsman is not very popular
Mm-hmm.
because uh, in socially people think they don't treat well when they just choose occupation like carpenters or tailors or dressmakers. I think
Mm-hmm.
people want to be a doctor, a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
teacher, some kind of very stable,
Mm-hmm.
some kind of one. They want very stable income
Mm-hmm.
uh, and life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people when they choose a job or occupation, is it really what you want?
Mm-hmm.
When I ask people, is it what really what you want? But people think I think no, it makes my uh, I think the job is this job is uh, not what I really want, but this job makes my uh, living makes my living. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Makes ends meet.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you think there is a lot of resistance maybe from the average South Korean family if someone wants to become a tailor? Would the family try to pursue them not to or persuade them
yeah,
not to pursue
yeah.
tailoring?
Because my even my in my case, my granddad was tailor
Mm-hmm.
who used to run a tailor shop from the apprentice and maker and owner. But even
Mm-hmm.
he uh, didn't recommend he didn't recommend me uh, uh, the tailoring.
Mm-hmm. Why not?
So I think he just thought journey
Mm-hmm.
this journey of occupation is very rough and they don't but skills and uh, skills and like the eye of beauty to ability to see the beauty is not achieved one day. It takes uh, too long time to be at one complete tailor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even they train more than 10 years, it is not guaranteed uh, they're going to be rich.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of reason they don't, uh, including my grandfather. So the
Mm-hmm.
people and my parents mm, don't want me to be a tailor.
Mm-hmm. You know,
Yeah.
this is a very common problem, and I wonder if this has any serious impact on the tailoring industry in general, because
Mhm.
most tailors who I speak to, one of the things they share often is that they find it extremely difficult to find people who are not only interested in tailoring, but they are also willing to, let's say, suffer the first 10 years to learn something they may not be able to use as a guarantee for their establishment of their life. And it is interesting that you say that even though that your grandfather was a tailor himself, he still didn't
Exactly.
recommend it for you. Now, at the same time, I think most of the viewers have noticed this as well. There is a lot of development of tailors in South Korea. If I go, for example, on Instagram and I start scrolling, maybe 3 out of 10 posts that I see are South Korean tailors. How,
Oh,
as someone who's living there now, how do you see that develop? I mean, is it something you can feel in the air, or do we think it's a lot, but actually it isn't, and we only see the exposed part? How would you describe that?
I think it's kind of a visible image, but Instagram image, you know.
Uh-huh.
So in fact, in real life, in real workshop in Korea,
Hmm.
some so a lot of young men pretend iron tailor and just tie and get well dressed and
Hmm.
the posing in front of the photo
Yeah.
and I'm tailor, but very few uh make can make real garments. So
Right.
so our tailoring generation only 60 and 70s. So in
Hmm.
workshop there are 60 and 70 is age tailors, only 60 and 70 age tailors working in the workshop. Or I think you uh hmm, sorry, my condition is not feeling very well
That's
this time.
okay.
I think yeah, not yeah, but I think South Korean tailor is very good at marketing and uh
Hmm.
yeah, but Instagramming as well. Yeah,
Right. So what we see is most of the
and
time
their
you say,
skills good as well. I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So is it fair to say that not all the South Korean tailors that we see are actual tailors? They are maybe someone who has a shop, or they are a salesperson, but they're not actually the craftsmen and the artisans who are making the suits, correct?
yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
only
mm-hmm.
few young people still keep their tailoring, but very small amount.
Mm-hmm. And the majority of the artisans are in the 60s and the 70s of age.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Is the approach to tailoring different in South Korea? Like technically, from a technical point of view, do they have a very specific style of construction or aesthetic that they aspire to achieve, or would you say it's very similar to what Italians do or the English do or whatever?
I think we used to have kind of bespoke suit association like several association, but
Mm-hmm.
it disappeared. I think 10 5 or 10 years ago. But firstly, the concept of bespoke suit
Mm-hmm.
imported from Japan
Is
during
that
the
so?
Japanese yeah, during the Japanese colonial time. But Japan,
Mm-hmm.
they imported the suit
Mm-hmm.
from England.
Right.
Yeah, so Japanese call the sabiro,
Mm-hmm.
meaning suit, comes from Savile London.
Right. Yes, I did know that.
So
Yes.
so back to the first question. Uh, so our origin concept of Korean bespoke suit
Mm-hmm.
is kind of uh, pre-interpreted
Mm-hmm.
uh, pre-interpreted bespoke English bespoke tailoring by Japanese people,
Very interesting.
and that that kind of that kind of concept continues 70 or 80s
Mm-hmm.
80s before just before emergence of massive production of menswear
Yeah.
because we were developing country in South Korea. So
Mm-hmm.
so when the fa- when a when factory begins to make menswear and Korean bespoke market, Korean bespoke trade is had downfalling, has been downfalling,
I see.
and then next 10 years and 2020 we were booming again because of Italian classic trend. So
Right.
now Korean bespoke trade is Italian classic mood. Italian silhouette is dominant. So overall, some old Korean tailor shop still keeping their like English. I mean, some like uh some imperial mood, colonial mood, very old classic silhouette, and new shop is showing their bespoke suit like Italian silhouette. So to be honest, in my point, authentic. I mean, English suit is origin. So true English silhouette hasn't been shown yet in Korean trade.
I see.
So
I see.
that's my question. Yeah. So that's my opinion and answer.
Yes. Well, I do have to say, despite all the different influences that you mentioned, so, the Japanese interpret the English suit, and then that kind of like goes into Korea, and the Koreans do an interpretation of the Japanese interpretation, and so it kind of like rolls, and then the Italian influence comes through. I do have to say, when I look at Korean suits, especially jackets, because trousers is difficult to see on social media, but when I look at the
Yeah.
jackets, I do feel that there is something Korean about that jacket. Like, if I look at, although there are influences from Italy or other places that maybe have a softer line or silhouette, there is something distinctive about the Korean suit which I haven't really been able to pinpoint. I think it looks more constructed than the Italian suits do, but then it does still have the same softness and perhaps roundness, something like that. It's very strange. Have you noticed that as well, or is it me just imagining things?
I think it's you pointed out very well. So it's not different from English style, and little bit, but it's more like the Italian, but not not uh not gone too much, like moderate, but
Yes.
soft, but curvy, but not straight, but
Yes.
with very thin pad, and not the shoulders not roping,
And
has
very
not roping.
voluminous.
Yeah, very volume. But I think that is the 2020 trend,
Uh-huh.
influenced from Naples jacket.
I see. I
Yeah.
see. The last time I spoke to you, we talked about the method that you are using, which is the Rock of Eye method.
Oh
And
yeah.
as we are talking about Korean tailoring, how popular is that method in Korea? Is it a common thing, or is it completely unknown?
I think I want to believe that concept is still existing, but Korea. But I just I just uh, tell and speak out my method to my colleagues and other seniors. They their reaction is like, what the fuck, what the bullshit. Yeah, I think my concept is totally new in Korean trade, and my approach is very, my word, very innovative, but their word very uh, um how can I say, we can't make clothes like this method. So I mean, I think at the moment is my method is a bit controversial.
In Korea.
Yeah, because I think, yeah, I'm trying to introduce this method in Korean trade.
How do you define the rock of eye method for anyone who doesn't know? I mean, I guess everyone has their interpretation of it, but how do you define rock of eye?
Rockabye is very old uh, tailoring slang in Savile Row. So it means tailor's instinct.
Right.
So actually, the term rockabye doesn't always indicate like uh, soft tailoring and drape, yeah, like ANS look, but it also means like when tailors doing things very long time, so maybe over 30 or 40 years, they got certain kind of feelings when they draft a pattern, when they stitch, when they just calculate the certain amount of ease. So I think
Yes.
that kind of all feelings and intuition we can call the rockaway.
So you could say that it's not necessarily a style, but it's more like a stage that you get at once you
Yeah,
have.
in generally speaking, the rockabye is in stage, but we can call rockabye as a style. But I talk later.
So what are, if you had to decompose rock of eye as a style rather than a stage, what elements would you describe? So suppose I'm a tailor and I say, hey, what do I have to learn to be able to pursue the rock of eye method? What would you tell me?
Mm.
What are the prerequisites?
I think there's a no royal way to achieve the rockabye skills. I think I'd rather advise them to learn basic skills more than 1,000 times. So actually, the pattern is the old system from England, like Thornton or whatever, or Huntsman or Gibbs or Morris Sadwell and ANS, Stephen Hitchcock, is all systems a little bit different. A little bit, I think, but the basic system is the same. So if you want to achieve rockabye, they firstly try to achieve the basic skill, basic pattern first, and then uh, interpret the proportion in individual's way. Because it was very luckily when I worked at CAD, I had a good teacher, so who used to work at Anderson and Shepherd and Norton and Sons. So Stephen Allen was my teacher. So he taught me how to draft, how to calculate the proportion in rockabye way. Yeah. So
Do you
in
think
terms
there?
of
Sorry, continue.
oh sorry so in aspects of style, the rockabye is more like uh, Anderson and Shepherd and Stephen Hitchcock and uh, Steve Taylor's jacket shape. Yeah, so we can
Why
call
do you?
it soft. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Why do you think that so much the rock of eye terminology has been attached to tailors who have a softer approach rather than tailors who are building very constructed garments with very sharp lines, etc. Because from as far as I've been able to pick it up, it's something that's very closely associated to, like you said, Anderson and Shepard, Stephen Hitchcock, Steve Taylors, people who kind of like come from the Anderson and Shepard school and the more softer approach to tailoring. Whereas what we are actually discussing is that the Rock of Eye stage, let's say, or eventually method, if you want to call it, is a stage that you get at once you have mastered the mechanical and technical basics. Why do you think it's so closely related to soft tailoring instead of like constructed
Cleaner
tailoring?
tailoring. Yeah, I think the rock of eye. So I said soft tailoring is sometimes it's not considered as a modern tailoring, clean tailoring.
Mm-hmm.
And also I can say the most cleanest suit is not most comfortable suit.
Right.
So soft tailoring and rock of eye method tailors
Mm-hmm.
put some not very precise,
Mm-hmm.
uh, not using very precise users. Sometimes the so put some more ease on the sleeve and put pleated on the arm, but
Mm-hmm.
some looks it's ugly,
Mm-hmm.
but some looks it's beautiful.
Yes.
So in in this context, so modern tailor and the tailors who want a cleaner look,
Mm-hmm.
use precise pattern draft, and then very constructive and not very strong roping shoulder
Mm-hmm.
shape.
Mm-hmm.
Without precise proportion, it can't be made.
I see.
So vice versa. So put a little bit ease and a little bit put some like tailor's filling, put some
Mm-hmm.
half-inch more ease. So this is not, we can call it's uh not very very precise draft, but
Mm-hmm.
it can make the look softer and
Yes.
a little bit uh comfortable.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I have another question then. As we are talking about the Rock of Eye, um, in my perspective, I think the Rock of Eye method is something. I mean, the way we have defined it, that stage is something every tailor would want to naturally aspire to because it means that you have so many references of work within you that you don't need to think anymore or calculate. You can purely through your intuition create a pattern that will not only fit the person but also flatter the person. Now, to play the devil's advocate, where do you say is the tipping point between Rock of Eye, intuition, give or take, not super precise, but in an
Mm-hmm.
artistic way, versus Rock of Eye, an excuse to do sloppy work? How do you describe that dynamic? Because I can imagine that an artist in any profession, whether it's a painter or a sculptor, they can just do something not very precise, but it has a lot of soul and expression. But then someone not having mastered the skills can do a sloppy work and then say, "Oh, that is my art," whether you like it or not. So speaking of standards, really, what we're doing is how do you see the relation between Rock of Eye, the artistic, intuitive level within tailoring that you achieve versus an excuse to do terrible, sloppy work and get away with it?
Uh, I can very easily say the players recognize players.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's a simple, but I think it's true. Players recognize players.
Yes, that's
So
very well said.
yeah, but for example, uh, how can I say? Their tipping point is still very vague. So soft tailoring, the the some brands in soft tailoring are treated as a very controversial silhouette,
I see.
but 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 yeah, in my case, the I think the facing and color and how how hang how to insert the sleeve is a 3 point to recognize the good soft tailoring and rockabye method. Because the in English in English perspective, the hanging the sleeve in soft tailoring way. Oh, sorry. Uh, Actually, that was a difficult question myself as well. But yeah, mm,
Well, you see, it is a difficult topic because I think I've so when I've been working on Savile Row, I've had moments that I heard people making fun of people who use the Rock of Eye method, and but knowing that within art, intuition is a very important element of it. And so being able to achieve a level where your intuition guides you rather than the formulas
mhm.
is something every artist would want to aspire to. And so I didn't really understand why it had become the subject of being kind of like made fun of, although I can understand it in some degrees if I think about it. But then I thought, well, yeah, it's kind of like maybe for some people of lower quality work, an excuse to position themselves higher up the ladder, so pretending as if they have reached that level by using really abusing a term that you
Yeah,
don't really get to like slap on yourself as a label. So what you said was really well. Players recognize players, and I think it's it's a very vague answer, but at the same time, it's also very precise because you can tell if someone is messing around and if someone is, very serious. So, okay, do you think it's whoever tries to pursue that method or that stage is seeing tailoring more as an art form than a technical skill, let's say?
the the do you, are you talking about tailors or company?
Yes. So what I
Uh,
let me formulate it better. So, do you think that people who aspire to reach the level of the Rock of Eye level, do you think those
mhm.
are people who see tailoring more as an art form instead of a technical and mechanical job?
I think it's more like kind of artist type of tailor.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I said artist tailor. It doesn't mean like the tailors who do not have skills or techniques, like like very such as mechanical skills. Because
Mm-hmm.
once tailors achieved all the skills, how to put the facing on, how to insert the sleeve, how to do the buttonhole, or so make how to construct the chest,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think forget all the skills, forget all the draft system,
Mm-hmm.
and try to rely on feelings or very momentary interpretation
Mm-hmm.
when see the customers figure on individuals feeling. So
Mm-hmm.
first, uh, my case, I didn't draw the armhole line
Mm-hmm.
without armhole square. So
Right.
one time, uh, Master Taylor just demonstrate one pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So he draw the shoulder and side body and brake line, and then armhole line was blank. So he didn't
Mm-hmm.
use the armhole square, and just suddenly he just grab a chalk and just draw the armhole line.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very, very, very shocked point of me.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I think the people, after that, I just realized that uh, people's body cannot draw ready-made armhole square. So
Mm-hmm.
the people, so each people has their own armhole shape
Mm-hmm.
and just figure shape.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to interpret that line as very using my uh, natural instinct.
Mm-hmm.
So third is like it's like hand drawing,
Yes. Yes.
but 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 before the drawing the one armhole, one very the freehand armhole,
Mm-hmm.
I practice. I just draw the 200 nearly 200 times a day, just one armhole.
Really?
Yeah, I just uh prepare one very big paper
Yeah.
and then grab a chalk or color chalk
Mm-hmm.
and close my eye
Mm-hmm.
so I can't see. There's a dark.
Yes.
So concentrate my feeling and hand.
Mm-hmm.
Just draw the oval shaped line.
Mm-hmm.
So first, it's nothing. It's not armhole. It's not line. It's not just 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 bullshit line.
Mm-hmm.
So after the but I doing that things but every day after work.
Yes.
So I spend at least 2 hours for this
Mm-hmm.
for using
Two
my
hours
eye. Yeah, 2 hours.
every day.
Yeah, so 2 hour so one time is 1.5 or 2 hours, but uh
Sure. It's
overly
quite
two
a lot.
hours.
It's quite a
Yeah,
lot. Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
That's good practice.
just uh just drawing oval shape.
Yes.
It is too wanky to say call it as an armhole. It's just like it's like oval shaped line.
Mm-hmm.
So month, the shape looking clean,
Mm-hmm.
and after another month, I can make side line, armhole line without the
Mm-hmm.
scare. So I
Yes.
can. Uh, so I feel after this practice, I feel very confident to draw
Mm-hmm.
the pattern,
Mm-hmm.
the armhole line pattern, because
Yes.
the key of rockabye pattern is the oval shaped armhole. It's not ready-made armhole line.
Mm-hmm.
So
You.
so all I want to say, the
Mm-hmm.
artistic tailoring pattern or skills cannot achieve without uh, thousands of mechanical practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You. You write, and I've read some of your writings. I've used the translator plugin on my browser, but it seemed to me like you have an interesting way of writing, and it's. I mean, obviously, it's what I read was translated, but I could, through the translation, I could see a fairly romantic point of view towards your environment, and you pay a lot of attention to details in your surroundings. And uh, what I wanted to ask you is how much of your writer's mindset and perspective um, do you see back in your tailoring?
Uh, yeah. Actually, I like writing. Rest of uh, I just spend much time doing writing.
Mm-hmm.
But so sorry. Uh, my English is just frozen. So yesterday was better. So uh, so all my writing is about
Mm-hmm.
tailoring.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to link tailoring
Mm-hmm.
to art. So
Mm-hmm.
if I strongly insist artistic point of tailoring
Mm-hmm.
to art, I have to prove and show the clues. So
Yes.
writing is my method.
Mm-hmm.
So recently I just write about art trend and uh, tailoring what I'm currently doing.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, I just so the soft tailoring, rockabye, they their silhouette, the marketing point of their silhouette is the so, sufficient drape on the chest.
Mm-hmm.
So some cleaner tailor, modern tailor, uh, mechanical tailors consider this room as a need. Uh, consider this room as a clearing out point.
Mm-hmm.
But my point of view, if as long as it does not collapse,
Mm-hmm.
we can call this is part of silhouette.
Yes.
So I recently read one book about art trend monoha.
Mm-hmm.
The is it's originally origin from Japan because they
Right.
just concentrate of power of white space.
Mm-hmm.
So today I'm thinking about the room or space,
Mm-hmm.
uh, something before we uh, didn't consider as a part of silhouette or line,
Mm-hmm.
but we change the thinking and change the concept. Can consider can we consider just uh, part of silhouette and shape and part of beauty?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of concept can link uh, front drape or back drape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It seems to me that what you're doing is you're exploring the limits of how well or how much, should I say, um, art you can incorporate within fit and within tailoring. Um, is that fair? Is that a fair observation, you think?
yeah.
So then, as a second question to that, what do you think are the limits of art within tailoring? I mean, obviously, you can say tailoring is an art form, learning to fit is an art form, unpicking is an art form, sweeping the floor is an art form. We can attach art to everything, right?
Yeah,
Entertaining the client's dog is an art form. I don't know, but but where do we really? What would be one of the more legit positions on tailoring an art? How far can art really have a say in tailoring? Because a lot of tailoring to me, even if you want to consider it art, eventually is technique, and it's just how you perform the technique that turns it into art, right? Where you use your aesthetic values, you use your intuition, your perspective about the client's lifestyle or their personality. But for me, if we talk about art, there is some element of in search for the ungraspable is in there. When you're an artist, you're trying to find something that isn't there, that you haven't seen, that you haven't explored. How much of that do you think is possible with tailoring?
uh, yeah. As you said, I don't want to define all the process and all the parts as an art.
Yeah.
Uh, the point we can call tailoring as an art. Uh, when you look at customer, like when you look at wearer's figure,
Mm-hmm.
you all the tailors unconsciously thinking about something. I think that's weekend inspiration, or so.
Mm-hmm.
Some tailors think about pattern or line, or some tailors think about texture or fabric, or some tailors think about just customers talk too much, or customers just like, but I don't like this figure, or something about bullshit doubts.
Mm-hmm.
But my point, when the all the inspiration Taylor's inspiration at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and oh sorry, where the Taylor's inspiration and customers' desires meet,
Right.
and Taylor art born.
Yeah. Yeah. So for you, you define you you,
So
you define
it's
the
hard to inspire. So it's hard to explain, but so so it's my interview. So I talk my just experience. And so
yes.
when I see certain customer,
Mm-hmm.
When I see the customer, I strongly recommend one fabric.
Mm-hmm.
So customer said yes, and the outcome is perfect. That
Mm-hmm.
if that kind of interaction
Mm-hmm.
makes tailoring art,
Mm-hmm.
but this kind of very desirable interaction and communication is very rare. So
It is.
yeah, so not happening all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one or two out of 10.
Yeah.
So I think at the moment I can call tailoring as an art point.
Yeah. Well, I think you said it very beautifully. It's you said I think two things. So the first one was where the tailor's vision and inspiration meets the, let's say, needs of the client. That's one place where tailoring and art can really grow together. And the other one is the process of creation by the tailor and the client, and the dynamics between them is a place where art can grow
Yeah, exactly.
within tailoring. Yes, I quite like
Yeah,
that a lot.
but I think there are still a lot of definition of art
Yes,
within tailoring. But
yes,
it really depends on tailors. Yeah.
sure, sure. I believe that. You know, actually, one other thing I wanted to ask you in the beginning when you said that you had to do military service. Has that in any way had an influence on your way or approach in tailoring, or was it something that you actually hated or loved or whatever? Can you tell us a little? I'm curious because you know where I'm originally from, Iran. Uh, when boys reach the age of 18, they have to do 2 years of military service, and I have yet to meet an Iranian that loved their 2 years of service. I mean, it's funny because most of them have some of their best memories in that period, but then majority of them they're like, oh man, I'm so happy that's over. How was that for you?
Uh, I think all Korean men's just uh, their their experience are more just nearly same. But
Mm-hmm.
I just served the Air Force.
Mm-hmm. Air Force.
Yeah, but actually I wasn't just uh I was not pilot. So I just served pilot for fuel. I just fuel driver.
Right.
But the main I think other just young Korean.
Mm-hmm.
So the the very important issues to choose military is a uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So Air Force was the Royal Navy trouser
Yeah.
uh, and you know the royal just
The coolest outfit.
yeah the coolest outfit. But it's a relative it's a relatively cooler it's a relatively better than just army's uniform.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's why I just apply the royal not royal the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, I don't think that kind of experiences
Mm-hmm.
directly influences my tailoring life, but I could remember I have I learned how to press the trouser. I learned how
Mm-hmm.
to the make the crease,
Mm-hmm.
like what Prince of Wales
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to press and make the crease on the jacket and trouser and overcoat. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of small interesting things uh, I could learn in that in military.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and when I just my rank got getting higher, uh, I got more spare time.
Mm-hmm.
After duty, I could study and read tailoring book, uh, and a lot of menswear books
Mm-hmm.
in military. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
uh, that period during the military service, I could prepare my tailoring life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now that you've
Uh,
started your own business, do you see that there are certain challenges that you have where the discipline maybe that you have developed there or you had to develop there is helping you in this stage?
uh, yeah, kind of. It's all about the mental,
Mm-hmm.
because due to the memory of uh, discipline, a hard discipline, so
Mm-hmm.
make I can just deal with all the difficulties when I just do the business.
Mm-hmm.
So like, so don't give up. I can
Yes.
just sort it out, do it, that kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say is perhaps the three biggest challenges that you're facing now that you've started your own company?
Uh, Actually, everyone's faces first is financial issues, because
Mm-hmm.
couldn't save much money when I just work in London. Just tailors
Yes.
not rich. So even young tailors,
Mm-hmm.
they're just and so some very close friends help me, and the
Mm-hmm.
bank I just help out from the bank, so
Mm-hmm.
I could manage the deposit and first rent.
Yeah.
Uh, I help out the parents, and
Mm-hmm.
but it's all the debt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And second uh, is a worker.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I just pursue English tailoring.
Mm-hmm.
English tailoring is but it's all the same suit at a glance,
Mm-hmm.
but their process and their perspective and their way of
Mm-hmm.
making is totally different from Korean
Right,
tailoring.
right.
And so, for example, I just cut up one pattern and give the
Mm-hmm.
bundle to Korean old tailor. He
Mm-hmm.
said he cannot make things with this pattern because the sleeve
Mm-hmm.
line is, uh, but it's a, it's the same pattern working in London, but
Yes,
not working in Korea.
I see.
Because in Korean tailor's eye, there's very unfamiliar line
Mm-hmm.
about chest to waist and waist to seat,
Yes.
or sleeve pitch to crown and back pitch, front
Mm-hmm.
crown back pitch. Very unfamiliar and kind of weird line in
Right.
their eye. So the second difficulty is so hard to find good workers, good
Mm-hmm.
makers
Mm-hmm.
who can work with me, work with my pattern and tailoring. That's the
Yes.
second one. And third one is kind of marketing business.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I
Mm-hmm.
said, the Korean and Italian tailoring is quite dominant and popular.
Mm-hmm.
So, but people think British is quite old one. a little bit boring.
Right.
They so, but it's half right and half wrong. Because when I see the British tailoring, it it's it's a little bit hard to find the attractive point rather
Mm-hmm.
than Italian tailoring, because there
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of shirring and wrinkles here and double
Yeah.
stitch, very overly uh, exaggerate lapel,
Mm-hmm.
and so the British tailoring less uh, a little bit less introduced in Korean trade. So
Mm-hmm.
that was my third difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I think I can manage it.
Well, I
Yeah.
think so too, man.
Mm.
Okay, let's do a speed round and wrap it up. So,
Yeah.
I have I have one word for you, and you tell me the first word that pops up your mind. Okay, let's see. Where did I put it? I have it just somewhere here. I have all these papers here. Oh yeah, there it is. Rock of eye,
Instinct.
instinct. Okay, English tailoring,
Traditions.
tradition. All right, art,
Art. Personality.
personality. Okay, color,
Sounds.
sounds. That is probably one of the best words I've heard so far in relation to another word. Sounds. Okay, Korean tailoring,
Innovation.
innovation. Okay, made to measure,
Uh, 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 Mechanical.
mechanical. Okay, um, the most difficult thing in tailoring.
The most difficult thing in tailoring. Actually, I want to say all, but most difficult tailoring. Uh, is it the last question?
No.
Then, shall I put the last row? Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Let's put this the last. Yeah.
All right, okay. Savile Row,
My hometown.
your
Hometown of
hometown.
tailoring.
Very nice. Tailoring schools,
The place I don't want to go back.
military service,
Uh, military service. Military service. Uh, just think it's uniform.
uniform. Okay, we're almost at the last. So, one before the last one. Setting up your own business,
That's uh, that journey.
journey.
Yeah, the journey to my ideal word, the ideal
Okay.
philosophy. Yeah,
Yeah,
journey.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Tranquil house,
My philosophy.
your philosophy. Last one. If you can guess it, the most difficult thing about tailoring.
Uh, Rockaway.
Nice, nice. Hey, thank
Yeah,
you very much.
yeah.
And that was Donghyun. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation. I'm actually curious to know what you thought of it. Do you think that tailoring can be an art form? Or is there any merit to the Rock of Eye method? Is it something that people use as an excuse? Or is it something that we actually can achieve and it's something that we should aspire to achieve? If you have any thoughts or ideas, drop them down the comment section, and I look forward to the next episode. Until then, bye-bye.